Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. We also have a silent auction where we are raising funds for future teachers, our current students at Adams State. So please check that out while you're waiting for food. But please help yourselves to some appetizers. to the field have earned them a place in the Adams State University Educator Hall of Fame, class of 2021 and 2022. My name is Dr. Curtis Garcia, and I have the privilege of serving as the director of the School of Education here at Adams State, where we continue to fulfill the university's mission of preparing some of the highest quality teachers and school administrators to serve in our communities. This year marked 101 years since the founding of Adams State as a teachers' college, and I can think of no better way to celebrate that than to be here tonight honoring and celebrating each of our inductees. Please join me in giving them a round of applause. Tonight, we will hear about the wonderful careers that each of our inductees has led and the countless lives that they've touched through their teaching, their leadership, and their service. But before we begin, I want to just take a moment to recognize and acknowledge several folks who have helped to make this evening possible. First, I would like to acknowledge the members of the Educator Hall of Fame Committee who are individually listed in each of your programs. Each year, this committee contributes to this event by soliciting and reviewing all of the nominations that we receive. Would the members of the Educator Hall of Fame Committee please stand and be recognized? I also want to give a special thanks to Ted Morrison, whose vision for recognizing outstanding members of the Adams State community led to the founding of the Educator Hall of Fame over 10 years ago. Thank you, Ted. Also, a special thanks to Ashley Mestas and our Alumni and Engagement Office who supported the School of Education in sponsoring tonight's event. I also want to thank members of the staff, thank members of our staff in the School of Education whose hard work in coordinating all of the logistics for this event made tonight possible. Thank you to our administrative assistant, Angela Madrid. Our program assistant, Paul Clark. Our program coordinator, Chrissy McKinney. And Assistant Professor Dr. Beverly DeVore-Wedding, who helped us in organizing our silent auction for this evening. Also, a big thank you to our facilities staff for preparing this space for our ceremony and on our beautiful campus at ASU, and to our computing services staff and Jeremy Jaramillo, who made it possible for us to do a live broadcast of this event for those who could not join us physically this evening. So we are being broadcast live. And folks are watching us at home, and it's thanks to these amazing people that we could make that happen. Also, yes. Also, a thank you to our staff at the ASU Print Shop for their work on the programs, and to Lynn Bogle and the Rocky Mountain Memorabilia for their work on the custom tiles that each of our inductees will be receiving this evening. So as I mentioned previously, we are having a silent auction as part of our event this evening, the proceeds of which will be used to support the development of future educators here at Adams State through an international exchange program that we've established with the University of Siegen in Germany. So if you haven't had a chance to look at the cool items yet, please make sure you get over there at some point and place some bids. We are also we are accepting donations of cash or check if you wish to give that way, and we thank and appreciate you for your support. And finally, before we kick off the evening, I want to take a moment to acknowledge a member of our Alamosa and Adams State community who not only contributed to the work of the Educator Hall of Fame, but who contributed to many other efforts in his lifetime, serving as our Master of Ceremonies for many years, as an educator, as a friend, and as a leader, and that is Dennis Lopez, whom we lost this year, but whose legacy lives on through his work and all of the lives that he's touched as an educator and valued member of our community. And tonight, it is my honor to dedicate this ceremony to Dennis and share in his special induction to the Educator Hall of Fame class of 2021 and 2022. We are joined tonight by Dennis's wife, Sally, and his son, Jose, whom I've had the privilege of calling close family friends my entire life. Sally and Jose, thank you for being here, and please accept our dedication of tonight's ceremony in Dennis's honor. At this time, I'd like to invite Ashley Mestas up to say a few words on behalf of our Alumni and Engagement Office. Please welcome Ashley.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Hindsight, I should have sat a little bit closer. It is indeed a pleasure for me to offer congratulations on behalf of the Adams State Alumni Association to our 2021 and 2022 Adams State University Educator Hall of Fame inductees. Congratulations. I can go on forever about how educators throughout my life helped shape me and gave me the confidence to be where I am today, but I won't. I will, however, say it is an honor to stand here before you today. You are the reason we can preserve legacies and unite generations. So thank you for your dedication to providing that foundation of success for our future generations and to dedicating your lives to a cause larger than ourselves. You are all tremendous assets to the alumni community and a remarkable example of what it means to be a part of the Adams family. So once again, on behalf of the Adams State Alumni Association, congratulations.
Okay, and so without further ado, it is now my privilege to introduce our Master of Ceremonies for the evening, Mr. Kurt Wilson, who serves as a member of our nominating committee and as superintendent of North Conejo School District.
On a dark December night, 49 years ago, a Lockheed 1011 jumbo jet crashed into the Florida Everglades, killing over 100 people. This terrible accident was one of the deadliest crashes in the history of the United States. A curious thing about the accident is that all vital parts and systems of the airplane were functioning perfectly. The plane could have easily landed safely at its destination in Miami, only 20 miles away. During the final approach, however, the crew noticed that one green light had failed to illuminate. By the time someone noticed what was happening, it was too late to avoid the disaster. After the accident, investigators tried to determine the cause. The landing gear had indeed lowered properly. The plane was in perfect mechanical condition. Everything was working properly, all except one thing, a single burnout light bulb. That tiny bulb, worth about 20 cents, started the chain of events that ultimately led to a tragic death of over 100 people. Of course, the malfunctioning light bulb didn't cause the accident. It happened because the crew placed its focus on something that seemed to matter at the moment while losing sight of that which mattered most. Tonight we are honored to recognize individuals that never lost sight of the true purpose of education, never got caught in the minutia of things that did not matter. They realized we teach students first, trying to motivate them and become great people before content, going past the level of concern that most people would choose to illustrate. The caliber of people in this room deserve our highest recognition, and we express our gratitude for each of them, or keeping in their mind their focus on that which matters most. What an honor it is. Say just something about Dennis. I'll never replace Dennis. However, with time, we no longer mourn that such people died. That sadness is replaced with extreme gratitude that such men lived. My name is Kurt Wilson, 32 years in North Canada School District. I was born 1/4 of a mile down from where my office is. I have never left. I served as an English language art teacher, a coach of several sports, a high school principal who actually served with those that had me as a student, and they still kept me around. Now I serve as superintendent in my last year. I have never left. My wife is here with Cindy. We are both Adams State alumni. We are very proud of that, proud of the educational system. The recipients, when recognized tonight, would you please come to the podium if possible? If you cannot, if you are unable, our sound system individuals back here will provide a microphone at your table. And when you're recognized, we would like you to provide remarks no longer than 2 minutes. So here comes the question. What happens if you take longer than 2 minutes? Nothing. However, people in this room know that we can easily turn this into a staff meeting, and I'm sure each of you misses those staff meetings. So if you would limit that, we would appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations for having impact, positive impact on people. The lives and time and sacrifice you've put forth have made a difference, and that's why you are recognized tonight. We honor you. We're grateful that you are here. For the families and those that are watching that support them, thank you for allowing them to have influence on so many for so long. And with that, let's begin. Looking through the individuals recognized tonight, it's amazing how many I know. Some of them still own a piece of my backside, and rightly so. I even learned to speak Swahili from one of them. We'll talk about that later. First and foremost, let us recognize those individuals found in secondary educators. We start with Tamara, better known as Tammy Fassett. Tammy received her BA degree from Adams State College in 1990. Tammy's career in education started in the fall of 1990 when she completed her student teaching under the direction of Beverly Stewart at Sargent. Tammy recalls Miss Stewart as, quote, an excellent role model and a tough cookie, but we did well together, end quote. Tammy taught middle school and one class of high school English at Center Schools and also taught high school English and theater at Monte Vista High School. During her tenure at Monte Vista, she directed 40 productions and continued sponsoring and directing the plays for years following her retirement in 2008. Comments from Tammy include, we competed in Intermountain League Theater competition 3 times, getting snowed out 3 more times due to snow on Wolf Creek. Our competition in 1997 resulted in 7 firsts and 2 seconds out of 9 categories. I was extremely proud of our cast. We produced some fantastic musicals and plays. My continued thanks to everyone who helped to make them all a success. Tammy served as a band parent president for the Monte Vista Booster and recalls running a successful bingo game which helped to buy instruments, uniforms, and a fully funded trip for the entire band. That band is 100 members, to march at Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm in California. It was an amazing trip for so many kids. A comment from a colleague included, Tammy has a prominent career at Matthias Concrete as the office supervisor. She left the family business to teach. She chose less money, more hours, and less flexibility. And she never regretted 1 minute of it. This is true dedication to teaching. Tammy's hobbies include sewing, gardening, and most of all, she enjoys spending time outdoors in Sedona, Arizona with her husband, Bill. Our first induction into the Hall of Fame, Tamara Tammy Fassett.
Well, as all of you educators know, education is not for the faint of heart or those who are looking for great riches other than those which we get from our students. Teaching is a passion, and it should be a passion. And I hope that those people that are going into the education now will find their passion and their joy the same way I did. I was a late bloomer, late coming into the education career, but it was one of the best decisions the second best decision, maybe the third. First one was my husband, the second one was my daughter, and then third comes education. But sometimes, as my husband and my daughter will attest, education came first and my students came before them more times than I'd like to admit. But I thank you very much for this honor. It was a surprise, and I acknowledge those people that have so many more years in than I did, and your tenacity and your dedication are appreciated by everyone else in this room too. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Our second inductee is Bobby Jones. Bobby received his BA from Adams State College in 1973. He was in education for 29 years. Bobby graduated from ASC certified to teach industrial arts at the secondary level. His first year was spent as a graduate assistant teaching welding and metalworking at Adams State. Bobby graduated from ASC certified to teach industrial arts at the secondary level. His first year was spent as a graduate assistant. He applied for a position with the Alamosa School District and was hired to teach woodworking and drafting in 1974. Bobby recalls the first 4 months of the school year spent waiting for a new vocational building to be completed so he and his students could take over the area in which the auto mechanics was being taught. His best memories are of students who have gone on in woodworking. He once was asked what he wanted from students, and his answer was that his students would continue to surpass him in their knowledge and skill in woodworking. His hope was that this wouldn't happen while still in his class. In Bobby's words, I have been blessed in my career to have worked with and have become very close to teachers and administrators, maintenance workers, and janitorial staff. It was always special to be able to help out each one when the opportunity appeared. I also think fondly of the class sponsorships, floats, prom decorations, and state sets that I have designed and helped build for the students through the years. We had some very memorable dances and other activities. His most meaningful memory was the yearly Colorado State Industrial Arts Fair in the Denver area. His best students were rewarded by being asked to participate as a group. He remembers some students who stated it was their first trip to the city. Of all the projects that were taken to the fair, he does not recall any that failed to get blue ribbons for their work. Bobby exposed his students with tours of the various industries and interesting businesses on those trips. Bobby served 20 years as a board member for the Valley Educators Credit Union, taught Sunday school, and was a church youth group sponsor for many years. Upon retiring, he spent time as a job site coordinator for the SLV Christian Community Service Projects, where church groups came to the San Luis Valley and would help repair, paint, and rebuild homes in the smaller communities. Bobby is grateful to be recognized and spoken to by students he taught over the course of his career. He still believes he had the best kids in the school as his students. In his spare time, Bobby's hobbies include building and hunting. I'd like to recognize our next inductee, Bobby Jones. Butch and Judy, would you come on up?
I'm sure, as you know, Bobby was an excellent teacher. His students loved him. He was a terrific person to be around. Also, his relation, so he's one of my cousins. But some of his projects and stuff that he taught kids to do, many went on to be woodworking students and carpenters and just everybody has a touch of Bob Jones in them. So on his behalf, in case you wonder why he's not here, he's had a bout with COVID, and his health hasn't been good over the last few years. So he has a Judy Jones too. So on behalf of Judy and Bobby, we'd like to thank everybody, and Ted and all you people that have been so good to get these young teachers going, and some of this stuff's going to be a thing of the past. Industrial arts is completely tapered off, and so his legacy will always be remembered at Alamos High School. So thanks to all. Thank you very much. And Bobby, I'm sure Bobby will thank everybody.
Our next inductee is Patricia Langston. Patricia received her BA from Oklahoma Women's College in 1951. She earned her Master's of Arts from Adams State College in 1964. She has been in education for 35 years. Patricia was a wonderful teacher who was dearly loved by her students. She continued her education and loved attending Adams State and living in Alamosa, where she and her husband, Niall, played very important roles in the community and never stopped giving. Patricia came from a family of educators. Her mother and grandmother were teachers in Oklahoma, and her mother-in-law was also a teacher, as well as her husband, Niall, who taught several criminal justice classes at Adams State College. Patricia was the home economics, marriage and family living, and child care and development teacher at Alamos High School for 35 years. During her time at AHS, she was the sponsor for the Future Homemakers of America and had the honor of helping several of her students become state and national officers. She also helped the FHA Club run the concession stand at many football and basketball games, having made the most of the food in her home economics classes. She loved teaching and continued her own education throughout her career. Patricia was well liked and respected by her students, and even had some male students protect her once when a fight broke out in front of her classroom. She and her husband Niall were very involved with the town youth and helped to organize community youth dances which were held at Rex Gym. They wanted the young people to have a safe place to enjoy some healthy fun. Patricia often volunteered with the local Girl Scouts and helped the girls achieve several of their badges. Patricia's hobbies include sewing, gardening, camping, and taking care of her little dog, Maddie. She also loves watching the birds in her backyard and the occasional roadrunner that stops in for a drink now and then. Congratulations to Patricia Langston. Our next inductee is Carrie Sanchez. Kerry received her BA from Adams State College in 1977, her MA from the University of Northern Colorado in 1988, and MA from the University of Phoenix, Denver campus in 1997. She has spent 44 years in education. Kerry's great story began the moment she stepped on the Adams State campus and discovered her love of learning and teaching. On a beautiful day in May 1977, diploma in hand, she proudly walked out of Plocky Hall to the Star Wars main theme song. In Kerry's words, there really are no words to describe the feeling I had in my heart that momentous day. I still get happy chills when I hear that song. Not only did she begin her love of learning at Adams State, she also met the love of her life, Eddie, on the ASC campus. They have 3 awesome sons, Rico, who also attended Adams State, Tomas, and Esteban, a beautiful daughter-in-law, Angel, and 2 very amazing grandkids, Vanessa and Vincent. Kerry will forever treasure the many wonderful memories in her 44 years of an exciting, always changing, challenging profession. The highlights continue when former students remember activities they did together when they were in her classroom. They were inspired and excited about the books they read, The Bronco stats and geography they worked on every Monday morning, listening to music, mostly the Beatles, playing in the background as they did their tasks or the field trips to Washington, D.C. A comment from a former colleague includes, after retiring from public school education, Kerry continues to work for the University of Colorado Boulder, supervising student teachers. She's been a tremendous asset to the ASU alumni, Denver chapter, sharing her insights into public schools and volunteering as an Adams State ambassador. As an ambassador, she has represented Adams State at college fairs throughout the Denver metro area and assisted with application days at area high schools. I believe that her professional accomplishments and clear pride in her Adams State education makes her an ideal candidate for induction into the Adams State Educators Hall of Fame. Comment from Kerry includes, "Go Grizzlies, great stories do begin here. Thank you." Kerry's interests include family, reading, running and racing 5Ks, 10Ks, and half marathons, hiking 14ers, snowshoeing, knitting, and is a fantasy football fanatic. Congratulations to Carrie Sanchez.
Upon receiving the wonderful letter from Dr. Garcia, I have thought about this very moment, a moment that is filled with many emotions, but best of all the memories that have been flooding in my mind and heart. For me, this is a moment of true gratitude and thanksgiving, a moment to be so thankful. John F. Kennedy once said, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them." From the moment I stepped out of Plackey Hall in the spring of 1977 to the magnificent Star Wars theme song, my teaching diploma in hand, I knew my Yellow Brick Road journey was beginning. In The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy discovered that knowledge, love, and courage could take her to wonderful places. This is what I learned at Adams, and that became my philosophy of education. I have tried to live by those strong values instilled in me on this awesome campus. Dorothy couldn't go on this journey alone. She needed her pueblo, her village. I am thankful for mi pueblo, those who have believed in me, inspired, questioned, challenged me, gave me the passion, desire, and most of all the confidence to do whatever I could to learn and to teach others. Mi pueblo consists of dedicated and knowledgeable teachers and colleagues. Mr. Byron Searing, Mrs. Cordy Duran at Monte Vista High School, Betty Fallis, Mel Clark, Semillas de la Tierra, Dr. Vigil, Adams State, Mr. Floyd Aker, Mr. Dan Valles, Miss Cindy Margain from Fort Lupton Middle School, ASU alumni Denver chapter, Wayne, Liz, Jackie, Ashley, and our great board, and so many other outstanding colleagues that I'd love to name out loud, but we'd be here long into the night. Courage. Courageous students that I have been with in the classroom, beginning with my 6th grade kiddos at Del Norte Middle School to my current teacher candidates at the University of Colorado at Boulder. It continues to bless my heart when they remember the little things that we've experienced in the classroom together. Love. And love the most important people in my heart that have shared this journey with me. I could not have done it without you. My honey bunny, my coach, my fishing partner, my love, Eddie. My children, Rico Nicholas, Tomas, Esteban, Angel, Vanessa, Vincent. My parents, Frank and Charlotte, step-parents, Bernice and Bob, my mother-in-law, Jenny. I know and feel the spirit of my eldest son, Rico, and my mom are with me tonight. The Lord has blessed me abundantly. Thank you, Lord. Knowledge, love, courage. I am so thankful to Adams State for the strong foundation by which I've tried to live my life. Thank you for this tremendous honor. And remember, there's no place like home. I feel wonderful being at home here at ASU. Go Grizzlies, forever ASU. Go ASU alums. Thank you.
I'd like to recognize our next inductee, Carrie Sessoms. Carol received her BA from Adams State College in 1983 and returned to receive her MA degree in 1991. Carol has spent 31 plus years in education. Carol began her career as a student teacher in the fall of 1982, but didn't begin teaching until 1991. She's been a business and marketing teacher and FBLA advisor at Sangre de Cristo schools for 31 years and was a state advisor to 6 FBLA state officers. Carol is a member of the Colorado Business and Marketing Educators, serving on the board for 12 years, including a term as president. She also served on the Mountain Plains Business Education Association board for 10 years, which also included a term as president, and is a member of the National Business Educational Association, where she is completing a 3-year term as the MPBEA representative to the NBEA board. Has many awards and special honors, including 1996 New Vocational Education Teacher of the Year by the Colorado Association on Career and Technical Education. She received the Colorado Business Educator of the Year in 2004, was selected as Sangre de Cristo's Teacher of the Year, and recognized as an outstanding teacher by the SLV educators in 2008. She received the MPBEA Secondary Teacher of the Year Award in 2015. Selected for the Donald L. Moore Leadership Award from CBAM in 2008, was an MPBEA Leadership Award in 2019, and was recognized as the 2009 Colorado Advisor of the Year, and was added to the National FBLA Advisor Wall of Fame in 2011. Carol's an active member of PEO and enjoys golfing and camping. Congratulations, Carrie Sessoms.
Thank you. It's an honor to be included as a member of such an outstanding group of educators, which include a couple of my own mentors. Walt Paulson, who was inducted in 2018, was my first superintendent. He lived across the street from Sangre de Cristo schools and was the first one in the building in the morning and the last one out at night until the fall of 1991. As a first-year teacher, I arrived at 6 a.m. and I didn't leave many nights before 6 p.m. Early one morning, 2 weeks into the school year, he poked his head into my classroom and asked if everything was okay. I said yes. I just needed extra time to prepare, and I'm sure there are educators in the room that remember that being one step ahead of your students for those first few years of teaching. His caring heart helped settle my nerves. Jolene Pavlovsky, who was inducted in 2016 to the Hall of Fame, the music teacher at Sangre who also taught business. She was my mentor by default since we both taught business. I still don't know how I would have survived those first few years without Mrs. Pav. I leaned on her and I learned from her, and many of the lessons that she taught me I still use today. I remember having a breakdown in the principal, John Crowder's office, tears in my eyes saying, "This is impossible. I cannot do this." John simply said, "Of course you can. You aren't a first-year teacher. You have life experience. The students relate to you, and I have every confidence in you." That confidence in me has guided me through my career. Although I have thousands of student memories from the past 3 decades, my time as an FBLA advisor is by far my favorite. Helping students to develop leadership skills they didn't even know existed, traveling all over the country, attending FBLA conferences, with students experiencing their first airplane flight, or eating a new food like frog legs in New Orleans, which they all agreed tastes like chicken. These are just a few of the reasons I return and enjoy returning to my classroom year after year. I did retire 3 years ago, but I just keep going, as many of you have done in your career. I want to thank Susan Durnford, who submitted my nomination, my husband and my son, who always supported me, my colleagues at Sangre, who make up my work family, and especially the Educator Hall of Fame Selection Committee for bestowing this honor. Thank you.
We will now proceed with recognition of our administrators in the category of this Educator Hall of Fame. First one I'd like to recognize is Kerry. I'm going to go off script for about 10 seconds, just to let you know that Mr. Kerry was a former boss and a coach of mine. He enjoyed two things, up-downs and push-ups. He would often, as a former Marine, find the worst spot in the football field to do those on. I'll show you the scars after the ceremony. Kurt received his BA from Adams State College in 1971 and his MA in 1978. He has dedicated 40-plus years to education. Over the course of his career, Kurt was involved in education at all grade levels. He also coached baseball, football, and wrestling. Comments from Kurt include, there are many memories of significant importance to me. They all have a common denominator in that they involve students directly in one form or another. I learned much from each experience. The young elementary student at Centennial who had severe behavior problems, I often would take him hand in hand with me to walk the school construction site. Having him wear a hard hat kept a smile on his face the whole time, and he asked questions continuously. It made a difference with his behavior at school. The middle school student at North Conejos, who would spend time in my office as an experiment rather than being possibly expelled for chronic behavior problems. The pained expression on his face when I played classical music in my office. It made a difference in his behavior, and seeing him a couple years later, he admitted to listening to classical music from time to time. So much thanks to my wife and kids for being understanding when I would occasionally bring students home to live with us for a short time. Learning from student athletes the price they pay to be the best that they can be. Being able to share experiences with students in the teacher education program at Adams State. Plenty of stories shared and, in particular, of what not to do based on my own personal experiences. Kurt is thankful for all the experiences that he had with students and what it has taught him. He looks forward to more experiences as he continues to spend time in education and coaching. His hobbies include flying his airplane over the beautiful San Luis Valley and scuba diving. I give you Kurt Kerry.
I figured Kurt would say something. He sure didn't like those up-downs. I'm very, very thankful to be here tonight. I've enjoyed all the years that I've been in education. It's been a situation where I think I've learned a lot more than what I've tried to teach. I look out and I see a lot of people that I've either taught or been taught by or been in association with, and that's a very, very great feeling. Curtis knows me, well, both Curtises know me pretty well. 2 minutes is an eternity for me to talk, so it's not going to last that long. I've had a lot of great experiences from K-12 up to the college level, the university level, and I've never regretted any of it. As Nelson Mandela once said, and I firmly believe it, he said the greatest weapon we have, the most powerful weapon we have to initiate change in society is education, and I firmly believe that. I wanted to look up, tell my dad when I was growing up, he was the director of teacher education, and I just wanted to tell him, I know Curtis Garcia very, very, very well, and the Department of Teacher Education here at Adams State's in good hands. Thank you.
I'd like to recognize our next inductee, John Goss. By the way, he has his first superintendent in attendance tonight, along with his last and current superintendent. So glad they could make it. That's quite a neat thing. John graduated with a BA degree from Adams State College in 1973. He received his MA degree from Western State College in 1989. He has been an educator for 46 years. Comments from his former colleagues include, anyone that can work in the same district for 44 years and continually improve and make the district better is definitely worthy of Hall of Fame status. Whether it is in the classroom or as an administrator, John continually demonstrates a high level of commitment for the betterment of all. He has many awards and special honors, the 1991 Creed School's Outstanding Teacher Award. In 2002, he received the Betcher Foundation Teacher Recognition Award, nominated by a Betcher Scholar. In 2005, Adams State President's Honor Society, a lifetime membership. In 2018, the DeMont Award, recognizing administrators in districts with fewer than 1,500 students, and I can attest how difficult that is to win. Presented by Representative John Wilson of Salida. John's hobbies include downhill skiing, Rio Grande River fly fishing guide, avid fly fisherman. Mr. John Goss.
Well, thank you very much. This is an honor that I never expected, so I'm humbled and grateful. And I'm also, it's very satisfying, I think, to be inducted in the same year as Dennis Lopez and Kerry, who were instructors of mine during my licensure program here at Adams State. And, of course, my old friend Carol from Sangre de Cristo. Well, my relationship with Adams State started in 1976 in a photography class because my first superintendent made me the yearbook sponsor, and I couldn't say no. So over the years, I amassed over 70 credit hours here, Wednesday workshops, and had some really good teachers. I want to mention Jodine Ryan. While I was keeping my teaching certificate current, and eventually I took the educational leadership courses on the way to my principal license. Until last week, I was also an adjunct instructor for Adams State in the college at high school program, teaching Communication Arts 1 and 2. Well, I knew I was going to be an English teacher when I was in high school. I had two really good teachers that inspired me and believed in me, and I wanted to pay that forward. I wanted to encourage and inspire others. And I also had some really bad teachers, and I swore that I would never do anything that they did. So in 1976, I took the job in Creed, and I thought, well, I'm going to try this for a year and then see what else I can find. 46 years later, and still in the same school district, I have lots to reflect on, and I've had great support from my superintendents, starting with Lonnie Rogers, Hall of Famer 2018, who took a chance on me when there were those in town that thought maybe he shouldn't. And he led the district through some of the toughest days that we've had to endure in all these years, when the mines closed down and our numbers were cut in half. Jim Boydston was my next superintendent, and he started involving me in leadership activities, especially as they applied to the new state standards at the time. And then Buck Stroh promoted me when he was moved to superintendent, and we worked together for about 13 years, I think, to promote a culture of togetherness. So 3 superintendents my first 40 years, and now 3 superintendents in my last. But it really feels good, I'm glad you mentioned this, that my first superintendent is here, and my last one, Keith Crispell, is here also. Some would say that my inability to say no is a weakness, but I think my dedication to the district and its students actually led me to this place today. One day somebody came looking for a community member of the March of Dimes, and it became me. Somebody else wanted me to lead the students against drunk driving. Okay, did that. 1983, I heard of a thing called Knowledge Bowl, so I started the teams and coached them for 20 years. And in fact, I was part of a team with Gary Benson, class of 2013, Hall of Fame, when we moved the state championship from Fort Lewis College to Adams State. And then I went to track practice one day to help some kids stretch out, and I ended up coaching track for 10 years. And then athletic director for 10 years, and finally principal. So all of these changes over all of these years, one thing has absolutely never changed, and that is the support and the understanding of my wife of nearly 20 years, Dana, and I don't exaggerate when I tell you that I could not have survived without her. My motto has always been, I'm here to serve, and I have been committed to a culture of kindness and understanding, so I'm satisfied with my career. It's my calling. All these years I know that I've been doing the job that I was put on earth to do, and I leave this profession knowing that I left it all on the field. Thank you.
With due respect, we recognize the next Hall of Fame inductee, Dennis Lopez. Dennis received his Bachelor of Arts degree from Adams State College in 1974 and his Master of Arts degree in 1978, as well as his Type D certification from the University of Denver. He had 27 years of educational experience. Dennis spent all of his professional life in education. His obsession with learning never ended. He was well known because of his passion for sharing his culture, language, history, and storytelling. He always said that teaching was not a profession, but a vocation. He began a teaching career at Alamos High School, where he taught Chicano studies, Spanish, and French. He also sponsored many clubs and student programs. To support student athletes, he was assistant baseball coach, athletic director, and announcer for the AHS wrestling program. He became the associate principal of AHS in 1993, principal of the Open High School and AHS from 1998 through 2002, and was also the secondary principal at Sierra Grande School District. In his professional capacity as an educator, he was a member of the Alamos Education Association and National Education Association. Dennis was one of the original members of the Adobe de Oro Concilio de Artes that was established in 1987 with the purpose to present and preserve Indio-Hispanic arts in the San Luis Valley. As one of the founding members of the Sangre de Cristo National Heritage Area, he was able to leverage its platform to educate and bring to light the history of the valley and its people. He was an active member of the Sacred Heart Catholic Church, where he served as a lector, Eucharistic minister, and took communion to the homebound. Dennis was an active member of many professional and community activities. The Adams State University School of Education was very fortunate to have Dennis serve on the committee for the Educators Hall of Fame. He also served as the Master of Ceremony for our annual celebration since 2015. Dennis Lopez was committed to education and is a perfect example of what our Adams State alumni can accomplish. Dennis's hobbies included photography, research, storytelling, and spending time with his wife, Sally, and their 3 sons, Jose, Juan Carlos, and Ricardo. Let us recognize Dennis Lopez. Sally and Jose, would you come up and accept that, please?
I'll try to make this short and sweet. On behalf of the Lopez family, my mother, Sally, myself, and my 2 brothers, it is a privilege and honor to accept this award for my late father, Dennis Lopez. My mom and dad were married for 45 years. At this time, I'd like to take a brief moment to honor all the students, faculty, and staff who have been lost to the horrible tragedies from Columbine to Uvalde, Texas, where their lives were cut short when they had so much to give. If you'd all please just take a moment. I know my dad would have been very honored to join his fellow inductees in the Educators Hall of Fame. He served in the Alamos community as a teacher, athletic director, vice principal, as well as a college professor with the Title V program here at Adams State, as well as many other organizations and clubs that made him the lifelong educator that he was. He once told me, "A person can never know everything." Well, I'll tell you what, I tried to prove him wrong when I was in high school. Because he was my principal for my first 2 years while I was in high school. But that, again, is another story. My dad was an exceptional educator. He always seemed to have a very measured and calculated approach to everything that he was involved in. He took great care to lead by example. The reason for this, I believe, is due to the fact that he was always open to learn and not just be a teacher, but to also be a student. In his youth, he was referred to as a professional student during his studies in higher education while he was attending what was then Adams State College. His life was full of devotion to his students, his esteemed colleagues, faculty, and staff, as well as former students who needed a form of guidance or advice. He was never afraid to listen to the problems of a student or to prop a student up who excelled above the rest. He wanted to see everyone succeed in their own endeavors. I know that I could never list all of his accomplishments that he did in his lifetime, but I do know that he was able to reach out into our community and touch the lives and hearts of so many people. And I would like to thank those who were responsible for his induction, the members who voted for him, as well as the person who wrote the induction letter, and those around him who helped him to shape the outstanding human being, father, husband, and lifelong educator and student. Thank you very much, and I appreciate that he was awarded this award.
With due respect, we recognize our next inductee, Matthew Mann. Matthew graduated from Adams State College with his BA degree in 1994, received his Master of Arts degree from Texas A&M Kingsville in 2007, and returned to receive his EDD in 2011. Matthew married his wife, Sarah, after meeting in Dr. Hermanson's Foundation of Education class several years earlier. They completed their student teaching in the San Luis Valley, and Matthew secured his first teaching position in Sierra Grande School District. He later taught speech and debate and world history in Texas. Upon completing his master's degree, Matthew served as an assistant principal for a few years. He completed an EDD program, writing his doctoral dissertation on the relationship between school district size and science performance. He presented at national and state level educational conferences and published 4 articles on various educational topics. In June of 2012, Matthew was named principal at Pleasanton High School before being named superintendent in March 2015. As superintendent, Matthew insisted on leading professional development at new teacher orientation each year to model his expectations for effective practices. For Matthew, his connection to students moved beyond whatever role he currently served in as an educator. Even as superintendent, he was intentional about connecting with students. He was deeply committed to developing literacy in students. As superintendent, he read each week to a class at the primary campus. He purchased a book for every child on the campus and presented it to them after they had read together with a note inside from him. He believed deeply that every child should have a personal library at home, and he took it upon himself to ensure that before the end of grade 1, every child in his school district had at least 3 books he had given them personally as the beginning of their own personal history and library. As principal, Matthew sought to build connection and pride in a campus and community that was faltering. He coined a callback chant he started with high school students. He said, "Pride, pride," and they called back, "Eagle Pride," after morning announcements, at pep rallies, and in the halls. The more they spoke about, the more the connection grew. It soon became a chant at sporting events. Then congratulatory remarks on social media were replaced by a simple pride, pride response from parents, and eventually became something uniting a community. It's now emboldened in the turf, at the new stadium, and on all campus marquees. Matthew believed that great public schools are critical to the success of any community, and he dedicated his life's work to guiding students to realizing their own potential. Pride, pride. I give you Matthew Mann. Would his family please come and accept on his behalf?
Good evening. First of all, Angela told us it was 3 minutes. It's easier to talk about yourself for a short amount of time than it is for someone else, to talk about someone else. And as I prepared my remarks, I began to talk to our youngest daughter about, I was worried about being able to get through the remarks I had prepared in 3 minutes. And she said, they'll just have to get over it. So Emily said it was okay. It is an honor to be here this evening to accept this recognition on behalf of my husband, Dr. Matthew Mann, who passed away unexpectedly 6 months ago. It is a shame that most of you in here didn't know Matt. He was a special person. And while you have chosen to recognize him for his contributions to education, it was the characteristics that made Matt special that also made him an exceptional educator. It is true that we met in the fall of 1990 in what was then the ES building. I think it's McDaniel now, right? We had Professor McDaniel. In Dr. Hermanson's Foundations of Education class. Matt loved to tell people that he sat in the front with the nerds and I sat in the back with the jocks. It was true. He was here on a debate scholarship and I was here on a basketball scholarship, and that is where we sat in that first class together. We had many other classes together. We worked together in the cafeteria, and we were neighbors in Hutchins Hall for 2 years. And it wasn't a secret among our friends that we had our first kiss in the Hutchins laundry room, which sat in the corner between our two apartments. The first time I watched Matt debate here at Adams was the first time I truly understood one of the characteristics that made him special. Matt had the most perfect balance between humbleness and confidence. He could command a room just with his presence, but a humbleness that endeared him to others. As a teacher, a principal, and a superintendent, his humbleness and confidence allowed others to trust him. They trusted him in a way that you trust your closest confidants, and they believed in him, which allowed him to make great things happen for kids in every capacity that he worked in. Matt had a way of making every person he engaged with feel special, and he was intentional about doing so. It started with his handshake. He had this unique way of swooping in low and coming up to grab your hand, and while he shook your hand, he placed his other hand on your elbow. His handshake felt like hugging a friend, even to casual acquaintances. He shook every kid's hand he passed in the hallway or on the sidewalk. For many students, they had never had an adult engage with them the way Matt did. They had never had someone that made them feel as important or as powerful as he did. They responded by standing straighter and seeking out others to shake hands with. And they began to line up to shake his hand everywhere he went. At the grocery store, at local restaurants, at school and community events, from kindergartners to seniors, they came to shake his hand. Every Friday night when we arrived at the football game, it took us almost a quarter and a half to actually make it to our seats. Because kids and parents and teachers wanted to engage with him all along the way, and he stopped to speak to each and every one of them. What most people didn't know is that he developed his signature handshake over the many years he spent in middle school. Matt was 6'3" with a commanding presence and could have easily taken a very authoritative stance over 12 and 13 and 14-year-olds. But instead, he chose to bend down to their level, to intentionally be less intimidating, to build their confidence and self-worth. His intentionality and special way of connecting with others first changed a high school, then a district, and then a community in his last educational post with Pleasanton ISD. Matt was committed to learning. He believed he had a responsibility to those he served to better himself every day. Even when he became a superintendent and had very long, full days with a packed calendar, he was disciplined enough to schedule time to read. He carved out 30 minutes on his calendar every day to sit at his desk and read. And he rarely went anywhere without multiple books in his hand. And while he enjoyed reading and learning, he viewed this as part of his commitment to serving others. If he wasn't doing everything he could to better himself, he didn't believe he could expect the best from those that he worked with. I think that's a trait he adopted from Robert Ratowski, who served as principal that Matt worked under for 7 years in Jourdanton, and Robert became a great mentor and friend to Matt over the years. Matt spent the last 16 years of his career in 2 neighboring communities, as an assistant principal in Jourdanton and as a high school principal and superintendent in Pleasanton. If you lived in either of these communities, you were one of his students, you worked with him, or you were blessed enough to be one of his close friends or family, you knew these qualities and many others that made Matt special. He chose to be an educator and impact thousands of children and families by living his life fully in service to kids. Matt and I have 2 daughters, both of whom graduated from Texas A&M in College Station, and they weren't able to make the trip to be here today. After Matt passed away, our oldest daughter, who had been working for the university, decided she wanted to be closer to home and recently took a job in San Antonio to be closer to family, and so she wasn't able to take off to be here. And our youngest daughter, Emily, the one who said it was okay for me to go over, she just finished her first year of law school, and she's working as a clerk at one of the top educational law firms in Texas. This summer she spent today with superintendent and principals helping them with a matter that they're struggling with, and is sitting in her ethics class tonight. They're right where their dad would want them to be. He was the most self-effacing person I ever knew, and he was quick to pass on any type of recognition. But I do have to stop and acknowledge the people that made the trip with me to be here tonight to accept this for Matt. Matt's mother, Kayla's here. His brother, Jason, and Jason's wife, Christy, are here with their son, Gavin. My parents, Ron and Kay Smith, who lived in the Valley for many, many years, raised my brother and I here before moving to Texas. And my aunt and uncle, Fred and Teresa Garcia. Fred is also an Adams State alum, taught for many years in the San Luis Valley, and retired not very long ago from his educational service. They moved to Texas to be closer to grandkids, which Matt started working on that right away and recruited Fred out of retirement to come back and serve as his alternative school principal. Fred has the unique perspective to have known Matt as a young college kid that I started taking home. He knew him as a young man and an educator and a father, and then as a boss. A decision that I think both Fred and Matt thinks was one of the best they ever made. I stopped to recognize them because we're honoring 12 inductees tonight for remarkable accomplishments. But it's been said here already that education is hard, and it takes every ounce of your being to do it the way the inductees here tonight did it over the course of their career. And often, as already mentioned, it's those closest to us that make the sacrifices that allow us to do that. So congratulations to the inductees, and kudos to those of you that are here with them for allowing them to be the great educators that they are. On behalf of my kids and our family and the children that Matt has served over the years, I thank you for honoring him and his work with this recognition. Thank you.
We now recognize our next inductee, Clinton Tucker. I'm going to call an audible for just a second on Coach, former boss of mine, along with Mr. Kerry. Mr. Tucker gave me my first job in the district, took a chance and had a sense of humor and hired me. What's not listed in his bio is he was a tremendous Spanish teacher, one of those coaches that would bring out the best in the classroom first, then on the court of play. He had the ability to differentiate his instructional practice for us lower level students, even taught some of us to instead speak Spanish, instead choose Swahili. So here it goes as proof as I attest to this. Habari habari zeleo mapenzi wangu. That means in English, I want a slushie, my friend. Clinton received his BA in 1968 from Adams State College and returned to receive his MA in 1974. He spent 31 years in the field of education, 15 as an educator, and 16 as an administrator. Clinton started his educational career teaching and coaching for Sanford School District, as well as Alamos High School and North Conness School District. He also served as the principal for the North Conness School District for 16 consecutive years. Clinton served on the committee for the Conness County Child Protection Team for 16 years. He is most proud of his part in the construction and implementation of a curriculum and program for Centauri Middle School. Comment from Clinton includes, the construction of Centauri Middle School was quite an ordeal. A few board members definitely opposed trying to pass a bond to build a new school. We would bring it up, and they would shoot it down. Not to be discouraged, we would wait a couple of months and bring it up again. Finally, one board member threw up his hands in disgust and said, "Try it. I will prove that it won't pass." Boom, it passed and the rest was history. Clinton's interests include horseback riding and ranching. Congratulations, Clinton Tucker.
I just look like a decrepit, crippled old man. I'm really not. I'm not even the best educator in my own family. My wife is. She taught severely handicapped kids for I don't know how many years. And if you know what a severely handicapped kid is, you'll understand how tough she was. She, along with Linda Mood Bell, her students could outshine the regular special ed kids in their testing, and that's quite an accomplishment. And I let her share this with me this evening. Who would have ever thought that Mel Yates, Ted Morrison, and I, who grew up in the suburbs of the Bow Wow, would be here this night? Not only that, but we had Butch Jones as a mentor. He taught us everything we should not have learned. But we did anyway. But it was fun, and I think that's, to receive this award is one thing, but to be here with friends, unbelievable. I got a little start in education a little late. I really didn't start to want to be an educator, but I figured by the time I get out of college, I'll be so damned old I can't pursue anything else. And I decided I was such a renegade was growing up that I left home at 15. Not by my choice, but somebody gave me the boot. It was a learning experience. And I decided I better clean up my life, and if I was ever going to beat up middle school kids, I need to have a relationship with God. And so I spent 27 months learning Spanish and teaching Spanish people about God. I came back, and I don't know what you owe Adams State, but I owe them my life. And I'm serious. During the Vietnam War, I came back and started school, winter quarter, and I got a job over in Richardson Hall, and I was the printer. I was the college printer. And guess what my printing press was? A mimeograph machine. That's one step up from a ditto machine. And I did that for a while. And I noticed that they were remodeling a couple of rooms. And they made a real print shop with an offset press, and they hired Jim Ornalis, who was a printer in Denver for the government, to come down and be Adams State's printer. Well, he taught me how to be a printer. And so I received 2 degrees from Adams State plus a trade. And at any rate, time passed and I got inducted, an old man, about 24, I thought. And I took basic training in Fort Lewis, Washington. And at the end of my basic training, we had an old German drill sergeant, and he was handing out your job, and all they gave you was a number. And my number was 83F20. The only thing I'm glad about was it wasn't 11B10 or 11B12, because I'd have been a grunt. And I was too tall to get shot. So anyway, he said, I don't know what you did on the outside, young man, but it must have been something special. 83F20, and the only thing I know about it is the number. And here's a little paper that says you have a secret security clearance. I didn't know anything more than he did. And you're going to the land of the green underwear, Vietnam. But we can't figure it out because you're going from the East Coast. So they sent me to Fort Dix, New Jersey. And I got there and they said, what in the heck are you doing here? I said, it's your army, you tell me. I said, I don't even know what I'm going to be doing. They had a big thick book and they said, give me your numbers. And I said, 83F20. And they looked it up and they said, I'll back up a little bit. I called my wife and I said, hon, I'm going to Vietnam. I wanted to try to come home, but they said I just went home during Christmas break, and so I guess I'll see you when I get back, or maybe I won't see you. And so anyway, I got there and they told me what I was. It said offset pressman. They had no idea what that was, but I did. And I went, whew. And I said, going to Vietnam? I said, you're going to the land of the green underwear, all right, but you're not going to that tropic test center. You're going to Panama. And I guess that it helped to learn Spanish or to know Spanish. And so I called my wife back and said, hey, I think I may live to see another day. And so they sent me to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, then to Panama, and I stayed there. And that's why I say I owe Adams State my life. And grateful for being in education the years that I was. Grateful for the friendships that I enjoy with you. We took a few years vacation when I left Alamosa, but never forgot my friends. And it's been quite a ride, and I thank you.
I'd like to recognize our next inductee, Melvin Yates. Melvin received his Bachelor of Arts degree from Adams State College in 1968. and returned to receive his master's degree in 1974. He dedicated 43 years to education. Melvin married Catherine Richmond in 1966. Catherine's 30-year career in education included teaching and administration. This union brought them 4 children, 9 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. 3 of their children are also teachers. He graduated from Alamos High School in 1964, attended Adams State College from 64 through 68, and graduated with a degree in physical education and business education. Melvin retired from the Oklahoma school system in 1999 and retired from the Texas system in 2009. Has many special honors. He received the District 1 Superintendent of the Year twice in Oklahoma. He served 2 3-year terms on the Oklahoma Secondary School Activities Association, president of the Northwest Oklahoma School Administrators Association, selected to serve on the Oklahoma Association School Administrators Board of Directors, served on the Oklahoma State School Board Association Board of Directors, served on the OCAS Committee to help develop finance coding systems for Oklahoma schools, member of the Oklahoma School Administrators Association. This guy is Oklahoma. Member of Cooperative Council of School Administrators, selected to serve on the Oklahoma State Superintendent's Advisory Council, Rotary Club member from 76 to present, served as president of the Rotary Club 3 different times during this period. Was on Texhoma, Texas City Council from 99 through 09 and served as mayor for the city for several years. Comment from a former colleague include, Melvin is a walking example of what a start in education from Adams State can do for a person in life. He has succeeded not only as a teacher, coach, administrator, and community member, husband, father, grandfather, and friend. He is well accepted, valued, and respected in his community and 2 school systems. He is and will always be a great ambassador for Adams State University. Melvin's hobbies include basketball, golf, and enjoying his grandchildren. We recognize Melvin Yates.
Mr. Wilson, thank you. Thank you very much. I got an email also from Angela. She said I could have 3 minutes. Kurt said I could have 1 of his. I'll try to keep it to 6. I really enjoyed my 43 years in education as a teacher, a coach, and an administrator. 12 years as a teacher and coach, 31 years as superintendent of schools. I started my teaching and coaching career in Center, Colorado. From Center, we moved to Texoma, Oklahoma. I became a superintendent in Texoma. I have a kind of a unique experience in Texoma as far as being a superintendent. When I moved there, I found out that the state line runs right through the middle of town. So we had a school district in Oklahoma and we had a school district in Texas. I served 19 years in the Oklahoma school, 14 of those as superintendent of schools. After retiring in Oklahoma, I went to the Texoma, Texas, and served 10 years as superintendent, about 10 years of out-of-state experience, and retired in Texas. Well, after my retirement, I did 2 interim superintendent jobs in both of those districts. What an honor it is to be selected to the Adams State University Educator Hall of Fame. I'd like to thank Ted Morrison and the university for establishing this Educator Hall of Fame and recognizing educators from Adams State. I attended Alamosa High School and graduated in 1964. Ted and Butch can both vouch for me. I got my bachelor's degree in 68, my master's 74. And I'd like to thank Adams State University and my professors. They were responsible for building the foundation for my success in education. I'd like to introduce, I'm going to do something different. I want to introduce some people that were important to me in helping me through my 43 years of education. And I'd like to introduce my wife, Kathy, of 55 years. Kathy, stand up. Kathy started her education at Adams State, and because we moved, she finished in Oklahoma. She spent 30 years in education as a teacher and an administrator. I'd like to introduce our oldest daughter, Christine, our son, Michael, and our twin daughters, Susan and Sarah. All three of our daughters are teachers. Christine is not teaching now. She's helping run the ranch back in Missouri. But my son, Michael, is in computer science and programming business. He's also a board member on the Texoma, Oklahoma Board of Education. He was not there when I was superintendent, so there's no nepotism. His wife is currently superintendent of schools in Texoma, Texas. So you can see a lot of our family is involved in education. I'm honored and humbled to be selected to the Adams State University Educator Hall of Fame. I'd like to thank those who nominated me, and I'd like to thank the committee for selecting me to serve with this elite group. Thank you.
We now move to our post-secondary educators, where our sole inductee, with due respect, Edward Richmond. Edward graduated from the Chicago Conservatory in 1949 with a BA degree, followed in '54 with his MA degree. He was an educator for 28 years. It would be hard to find a teacher who is more dedicated to his craft and to his students than Edward Richmond. He was a true artist of teaching. He knew innumerable ways to convey the subtleties and delicacies of the art of singing, and he continued to grow in his art his entire life. The admiration and appreciation of his students is evidenced by the establishment of the Richmond Memorial Scholarship, established by donations from his former students, as well as the memorial concert that his students organized and performed after his passing. Further evidence of the excellence of Edward's teaching, leading, and conducting can be seen from very early in his career when he directed the Michigan State's Men's Glee Club. The Glee Club was one of the premier organizations of its kind in the country, appearing on both the Ed Sullivan Show and the Dinah Shore Show, and regularly touring nationally. In Edward's free time, he loved to garden and work on the family home on Berkeley Avenue. He also enjoyed fishing and tying flies. We recognize Edward Richmond.
Hello and thank you. I'm Don Richmond, son of Edward Richmond. And I want to thank Ted Morrison and the board here and everybody at Adams State for this award, this honor of my dad, and for just being here and keeping Adams State going as the wonderful institution that it is. My dad loved teaching. He loved being a professor. He loved his students. You could see that in many ways, but one of them was no matter where we were going or how long it had been planned as some kind of family vacation or whatever, we'd be loading up the station wagon and getting ready to head out of town, and my dad would say, "I got to stop by the school for a few minutes." And my mom would roll her eyes, and we'd all sit out there, grumbling, but it really meant so much to him that everything was, that was taken care of, and I remember so many of his students and coming over to the house and everything like that. And he was an amazing teacher of a very difficult thing to teach. I'm a singer myself, and of course, the dynamics of fathers and sons being as they are, of course, I didn't take lessons from him because, God, he was my dad, geez, why would you want to do that? And of course, he taught opera, and I was listening to the Beatles, and, I wasn't interested in learning opera. But thankfully, there came a time in really the last few years of his life when he said, why don't you let me help you with your voice? And I said, yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. And so I did take lessons from him for the last few years. And I can honestly say he was the best teacher of anything that I have ever had. And teaching voice is an extremely subtle thing, because if you're trying, you're not doing it right. And so what do you do? But it's this kind of Zen thing of opening up. I mean, he didn't know the word Zen, I don't think, but and this being this open conduit, and every time you start to try, you go, well, okay, if I gotta go like this, and that didn't work very well. But he had an amazing array of things to try to convey that to students, and convey it he did. The vocal department while he was here was really stellar, and you could see that in the choirs. I mean, he didn't direct the choirs. That was like Randolph Jones was a great choir director here. But boy, the choirs in that period of time were something else, and they did some great things, like they toured some in Europe, and I think they even went to Russia. I can't remember, but it was it was a wonderful thing, and I loved Adams State too, and always have. And I was kind of a rugrat there at the music building from time to time, because I used to go over there and take trumpet lessons from some of the students, and I just always loved going through there, and I was scared of all those big scary college students, but still I loved being in the music department, and loved going in his office. And he loved it so much too, and he would be so honored to receive this honor and this award. So thanks again to Ted and to the nominating committee, and to everyone here, and I gratefully accept this in his name. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, after closing, we would ask that the inductees this year would make their way up for a group photo opportunity that can be printed and utilized. We thank Ted. Thank you for trying to do good things for people and for the committee. Thank you. Two things. A mentor of mine used to reference the definition of opportunity was the favorable combination of time, circumstances, and place. You took the time. The circumstances which you in, you made the best of them. And the place you found yourself was in the hearts of those that respect and love you. We recognize you tonight for doing what we are told to do, to withhold not good from those to whom it is due when it is in the power of your hand to do it. On behalf of all of us here tonight, let us recognize this fine group of individuals with a round of applause. After the group photo opportunity, you may feel free to, as appropriate, take pictures as you'd like, continue to bid on the items for sale in the back, the private bidding, or stick a cupcake in your pocket for later. That's all within realm. So thank you so much for attending tonight. Safe travels.